Well, Happy New Year and welcome to a new episode of Inquiring Minds. I am Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is my amazing co host, Donna Carlin. Donna, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, 2023.
2023 and season three. We've made it
Yes,
to season three. Can you believe we got renewed by the network bigwigs, I guess, because we're on season three.
season three. Yeah, lots to celebrate. For
Yeah, we
sure.
do have a lot
Lots
to
to
celebrate.
celebrate.
I had somebody ask me the other day, and I think you'll appreciate this: is why do you guys not do a sitcom together? Because we're so good. I'm like, well, I don't know what you'd call that. Would that be the Odd Couple, or
Yeah, it would be,
it would be the
for sure.
remake? I think perhaps. So,
Yeah,
but I thought that was a funny comment because they really appreciate our banter and our approach to this show, and it is such an honor for our audience to be here, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or listening to it on any of the various podcast platforms. This show has been a real labor of love for both of us, and we've really kicked off and started some really amazing conversations because of the topics that we discuss here. And so it's been such great fun to hear from our audience members about how they're taking these topics and bringing it back into their boardrooms and having these conversations around coffee, with a good friend or colleague, or bringing it back to their families at night for conversation around the dinner table. So we're just so honored, and we don't take the responsibility lightly, but we want to say we truly appreciate this opportunity to have these conversations and see the fruits of the labor of these topics really kind of take root in other capacities for our audience. So what are we talking about today? Super excited about this one, actually.
this one I wrote down because I don't want to screw up when I share with you what I was thinking. I'm thinking of what we talked about with our New Year's resolutions and what resolve we need, and I think this is a great extension of that conversation. Because as you're shifting, you're going to begin to realize you're not the person you used to be. Where you once remained quiet, you're speaking your truth. You're beginning to understand the value of your voice, and there's some situations that are no longer deserve your time, energy, and focus. And that's when you're going to know to let go of those.
Mm.
And it's I'm having that conversation with myself right now. What do I have to let go of? What am I not going to engage in? The myriad of emails that I get through LinkedIn. Will you have a short conversation about this and about that? And no, I really don't. Like 15 short conversations is no longer short conversations
That's right.
unless it's something I'm super interested in. So think about that. You made these New Year's resolutions and you're going to start shifting when you do that. You're no longer going to be the person that you once were. And that's going to discombobulate some people as well as yourself.
Yeah.
You start making different choices. When you say yes to something, that means you're saying no to something else.
Yep.
So that is really going to keep people a little bit off kilter. And what do you do with that, Mr. Harper?
Well, you have to put me on the spot right away. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that you just said there at the very end, I think really resonates with me, which is to say yes to yourself first before you're saying yes to anybody else. And I think actually the beginning of the year becomes a great opportunity for you to shift that perspective and those priorities and really figure out, what you want to spend your time on, where you want to spend your attention, the things that are going to capture your interest, going to keep you excited and motivated and moving forward. And everything else, you have to find a way to potentially um, delegate or shift and adjust, I think, to, maybe some other capacity. You just have to get really comfortable at saying no. We've talked about that on prior episodes. This becomes I think the funny thing about the beginning of a new year is even though it's a brand new calendar year, it's also the opportunity to push the big reset button and say, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. And so we talk a lot about looking inward, having that conversation, that dialogue, asking yourself these questions. But when you look back on last year, what didn't work? What really consumed far more time and energy than you really desired? And what was happening in your world personally and professionally that really wasn't supporting you? And like you said, Donna, looking at things from a new lens, a new opportunity to create a new narrative for the upcoming year it may not always be met with the most positive response from those that, would like to see things stay the same or aren't comfortable with you, stretching the boundaries, or maybe a little bit jealous that you're doing things a little bit differently and taking a little bit more direct control over
Mhm.
yourself, over your schedule, over where you place your time and energy and attention. And I think it's an excellent, an excellent opportunity to really do that. And I think it can be a bit scary for some, because I think, we do fall into the bad habits of allowing other things to sort of dictate what we do and where we invest our time and our energy. And often you hear it. I know I hear it with my coaching clients. My time is not my own. And whose fault is that, right? At the end of the day, this is an opportunity for you to say, well, look, how do I have a clean sheet of paper in front of me with the year ahead. What do I want that to look like at the end of this year? How do I want this story to unfold? How do I start, driving the actual approach that I'm going to take to be different than what I've maybe done in the past? And I think this becomes a great opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Rather than create a laundry list of things that you want to change, how about if you wrote how you want to be feeling? We spoke
Yep,
about that a little bit,
we did. Yep.
last week. I want to feel energized. I want to feel joy, fulfillment, gratitude, all of those things. I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to feel that way. So, what do we have to do in order for that to happen? So then we look at, what does our life look like? How much time do we have to devote to what will give us all those things on that list? That's really critical. If we do devote time to all those things on the list, what is going to change about us? People are going to watch, they're going to take notice. It's like one of our first shows where we talked about obligation or choice. Again, what's the obligation to yourself and the choices that you could make in order to honor those? That's your New Year's resolution, and to really honor the choices that you make. When people realize that you're saying yes for all the right reasons and not out of what you feel is obligation, they're going to change towards you, because they're going to recognize that you are honoring yourself. We all have the same amount of time. So it's honoring yourself in relation to the time that you have.
Yep.
When you say yes to the right things, and yes to reaching out to friends, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, or family, or whatever else, they know that you're choosing that to do that in the time available to you because you care. You also will develop a reputation that you're choosing to say no because you care. You
Yep.
care about yourself enough not to deplete yourself. And this is a great conversation to have with yourself, because you will be saying no more often. You will be setting boundaries and honoring them. And people will realize you're respecting yourself, like, holy mackerel, who would have thunk it? Um, and things will create a shift.
Yep.
Now tell me how wonderful that would be.
Yeah. I mean, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm in. I totally get that, and I do think that at the end of the day, it requires that you really do take that deep, dark look at all of those things that are really that are really kind of consuming you in a lot of ways. I think we have this tendency, especially as business leaders, entrepreneurs, um, and individuals alike. I think we have the tendency to uh, feel like we have to take on the burden of everything that's going on, all the different activities, everybody else's expectations, all of the different opportunities that pop up. And there's this often sense that I get from my coaching clients that there's that fear of missing out. So they say yes far more than they really should, which means they're dividing their attention and their really their value in every
Mhm.
capacity. And you're fractionalizing it across these different distractions. And that means that nobody is actually getting the real authentic you. They're not really getting
Yeah.
someone that is really there because they want to be. They're there because they have to feel obligated to be there because they don't want to miss something. And I think when you stop worrying about that, I think it becomes really freeing. And one of the ways to do that, I think, that is a good kind of place to start testing this is not being so committed or addicted to social media. Not always having to be plugged into Facebook or LinkedIn or, Twitter or Instagram. And there's a study I just read that we touch our phone nearly 300 times a day. The level of distraction that provides, just think about that. That number alone seems unfathomable. But I checked it yesterday and I just sort of kind of took note every time I touched it. And I was pretty close, right? Just the way that it works. And it's one of those situations like that is another thing that's just constantly pulling at you. And a lot of the time, it's those things that are on that device that basically require our attention to, stay plugged in and what's going on and what's the latest thing on the news and what's the latest thing trending on Twitter and all these things. And if you could take a step back and actually give yourself that respite, when you feel that confidence and that freedom by doing so, now it
Yeah.
becomes easier in the other activities that are actually doing the exact same thing. All those commitments that are coming at you. Hey, can you do this? Can you, attend this? Will you, go and participate in this activity? Or could I, like you said, can I take 15 minutes and pick your brain? No. I have got to be protective of my time because my mental sanity requires it.
For sure. And, some people I will say yes to because they're intriguing. What they share
Yeah.
with me
Oh,
is
of course.
something
Yeah.
I want to hear about. Absolutely. I want to
And
continue
you've
to
made the
learn.
time to be able to say yes because you have been good at guarding that time so that you feel good about leaving, that space for those opportunities that do bubble up that you maybe didn't see coming.
That's it. And again, it goes to boundary setting. So really the only thing I do these days on Facebook is our group
Yep.
page, and maybe the odd post of Shadow, in with his new toy or something like that. Other than that, I'm not on Facebook anymore. I had to start weeding out because I was getting messages from my old, high school mates and stuff like that, which I loved, and it was just eating up time.
Yep.
So I'm very discerning as what I do there. Twitter, I can't stand Twitter, and that I'm probably going to go off Twitter. That's a whole other story. LinkedIn is what I spend my time on. So
Yep.
if you look at it from that, what is the triage you need to do for everything in your life?
Yep.
Social media, it's not blanket statement. I'm going to give up all social media. What will serve you? What will you continue to learn and grow by being involved in? That is the question to ask. Who are the people that are eating up your time is the second thing because they think that they're entitled to.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I can only feed that or put a stop to that. And again, going back to your comments about social media, there are some people who drive me crazy because they will message me, ready for this, the same exact message through a text, through Facebook Messenger, and through email all at the same time because they almost demand my attention. And if they don't get
Hmm.
it in one avenue, they'll get it in the other. And my message is you message me in one because I get 3 notifications for that, right?
Yeah.
In 3 different platforms that I have to open up. And if you don't stop doing that, I'm not going to open any of them. That's that's it. So again, it's a boundary and protecting of my time.
Yeah.
The shift for them is you are not entitled to try to disrupt
Yeah.
my day
Yeah.
in 3 different ways for one message.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah. Well, and we, it's unfortunate, but society has been that way because, I even experienced it in my software company. We have Slack and I have tried to get off Slack. I wish I had never introduced it, right? Because now it's like instant message, instant gratification, that kind of thing. But I'll have someone, send me a Slack message. I have not yet responded to the message, and they'll be at my door. Hey, did you get my Slack message? Like, yeah, I got your Slack message, and I will respond to it when I have the time. But right now is not the time. Otherwise, you'd be hearing ding in your office, but you wouldn't hear it
That's
dinging
right.
because you're already over here. And so those things, it really is amazing how all of these um, tools, right, that have been built to make communication easier, to make our engagements a little bit stronger, are actually, if you really look at it, really doing a lot of damage, not only to the relationships that you have, but also to your own ability to control your day to day attention. And that is kind of key. And I think that being really committed to going into this new year by doing things differently and taking back control of where you're going to place your time, energy, and focus really does open up lots of opportunity for you to create more freedom and space for yourself, which, may, if for business leaders and entrepreneurs, maybe when that next great idea or that note of inspiration will come through because now you have the ability to receive it. You will find freedom and capability to invest in your people to take care of things that otherwise right now you're taking care of, but they should be. And really, from a personal perspective, there's a sense of calmness and a sense of control that when you get it, it is like somebody shot you in the arm with a, shot of adrenaline. It's like, wow, this is okay. I'm ready to do something unique or different or try something, or maybe take a class or go try a new skill that I've not ever had the time or the energy to go forward and try. But now you've created this buffer and opportunity for you to do so. And that's invigorating.
One of my favorite words of wisdom or pieces of wisdom from our Keys to Mastery program was Carlos Santana when he said, press the pause button. We all need to learn how to press the pause button and
Yeah.
just chill.
Yep.
And that's where things become clear. Psychologically, I don't know how many of our listeners know that when we are sleeping, our brain does not rest. What it does is it clears the clutter of all the fluff, which is why very often you go to sleep with this problem that you can't figure out what to do about it. And you wake up with a solution in the morning. That's because your brain has been working.
Yeah.
And it's only working well because you're a sleeper, like a sleeping kind of silence, rest. You're not bombarding your thoughts to try to find a solution. Your brain is doing it for you. And it's such a fascinating study that they did as to why people wake up with such clarity, because your brain naturally gets rid of all the fluff, all the noise that you're bombarded with all day long. Could you imagine if you actually chose to do that through your day and just press the pause button and say, I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm not going to look at my computer.
Yeah.
I just want to press the pause button, look at the clouds. I don't care. Something that just does not require you to process anything specifically, like, or on purpose. And how that's going to change you, because it gets you calmer and calmer. Now, I want you to imagine that you're in a room rather than people that are running like, in place. What is it? Not the groundhog. What's the animal that goes on the wheel? That runs
The
in the
hamster
wheel.
wheel. Yeah, the hamster wheel.
The hamster
Yep.
wheel.
I mean, I think groundhogs could do it too, but we just don't offer
I
them
don't
the
know.
opportunity.
Narvac, the ones that we have, I'm probably right. Just imagine surrounding yourself with people who know how to chill and press that pause button instead of always being, rushing to get stuff done and pack more and more and more into a day. Just the thought of that just gives me so much joy.
It does. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, your computer, right? You put so many files and you open up all these different tabs. What happens to your computer? It starts to operate a little bit differently. It operates a little more sluggishly. It's not as responsive. And then, eventually you get to that point where you've got so much stuff happening. It says, hey, we're out of memory. we got no more. We can't do anything. And so, you go in and you clean up those files, or you go through a sort of a declutter process relative to reorganizing your file structure, and everything gets back in line. And that's what you're talking about. That's what happens at night. That's how our brain functions, right? It takes all this, stack of all this clutter and starts to make sense of where it is, where it needs to compartmentalize, and where it needs to put it. And the value of that. And that happens at night, but it also can happen during the day, just taking a momentary pause, staring at those clouds, meditating, finding an opportunity to take 30 minutes and go walk the park. And, that is your own way of helping your brain sort of decompress and declutterize and reorganize really where things need to be in what order. And it becomes so powerful. And I think that at the end of the day, when you look at how you're going to approach this year, ask yourself if what I've been living in terms of my life and the work and the approach that I've been taking, is it serving you? Is it
Mm-hmm.
making you happy? Is it making you feel like you are in control or out of control? And are you at the end of the day uh, at the beck and call of everyone else, or striving to, live up to that fear of missing out? So you have to be touching everything at one time, or would you like to live a little bit differently? And I would challenge you to really look at that and say,
Yeah.
maybe there's a different way, there's a different approach. And, imagine going back to how you mentioned, what we talked about in the last episode, imagine how that would feel to be in more control, to not feel under the gun constantly, and to actually feel like you have the capacity to go learn something new, read a book on a Thursday, experience, something that you wouldn't normally do during the business day, because you've got the time and the capacity and the opportunity to really welcome that in and to appreciate it for what it is. And I think if you can do that, you will be on your way to really creating a little bit of a different approach to living your life and doing, everybody around you a service and making yourself a little bit better. And yes, there'll be some that don't like it, and there'll be some that want to throw up obstacles and roadblocks. And you just have to learn to ignore them, because you've got to stay on your path. And your mental health and your physical health really depends on it.
That's it. So ask yourself the question, am I respecting myself in relation to the time that I have?
Yep.
That's it.
That's
If
it.
the answer is yes, kudos to you. If the answer is no, then the next question is, what am I letting go of?
Yep. I love
And
it.
and that's it. You're going to be able to steer yourself in the direction you need to go to create those shifts. No
Yeah.
question.
Absolutely. Well, Donna, these topics are always great. I think this one specifically is so timely because of the nature of when it's going to drop. But we'd love to hear what our audience has to say about this. So could you share real quickly how people can become active and engaged in our community that this show is starting to spin up and create? And so how they can, let us know what they think of this episode, or offer suggestions for topics they might like us to cover in a future one, and just, introduce themselves.
Best way is our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. That's the name of our podcast. That's the name of our YouTube channel. So check us out. And if you comment, share something, we will get back to you. That I promise.
Yep.
Because we do respond to people. We want to know what you're thinking, what you're using, how you've taken this conversation further, in your world. And what would you like us to talk about that we could bring to the table? So, just reach out and we would love to hear from you. You could
Yep.
also get us on our website, rebelcentral.com for Steve. I'm at donnacarlin.com. Just say hi, let us know who you are and what we could do to help steer you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, we want to wish all of our listeners, a very happy new year. It's going to be a fun year. This is season 3. This is our first episode of season 3. We got so much great stuff that's going to happen this year. We are excited to do it. And we are truly honored that you spend a little bit of time with us wherever you tune in, whether it's through the podcast platforms, Facebook or YouTube for the videos. We're grateful for your participation in this. We do it for you. So, Donna, thanks so much. I hope you have a fantastic start to your year. We'll be back again next week for another new episode, but I'm excited to get season 3 kicked off.
Me too. And may the year ahead be an incredible one for everyone.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Well, you take care.
You too.